at the bottom. And we're live. This is the 3IT guys minus the former Marine. Apparently he's dropped out. My name is Jeremy Like.
And Alexander.
All right. And we've got a few things to talk about tonight. This was not a really planned thing. It just kind of happened. That's why we're calling it episode 1.5. Hopefully we can get through some of the little issues that we had on Sunday. And there he's back.
We're back. It kicked me off. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm using Firefox. Could have been. Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 2 of 3IT Guys. 1.5. Excuse me. Yes, I'm Mac Ritter, and then we have the Matrix Man, Daryl Alexander, our token black guy. We tried to get him to put token, but he wouldn't go for it. And then, of course, our resident guru, the Webster of IT, Jeremy Like. What is the first topic we're going to be?
Webster was a little short black kid.
No, we're like Webster encyclopedias and dictionaries.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, he forgot to pay his consumer bill, ladies and gentlemen. The light just came back on.
Right.
Dang it! See, now my dang thing all went away again. Here we go.
Maybe if you try Ice Weasel.
I'm not doing it in Cali. I refuse to do it. All right. All right. So our first topic. Well, I was getting into the topics here when it booted me off.
First topic is LabX. I think Daryl added that.
Yeah, LabX. Actually, LabX is a nice ongoing project. They're testing things. I guess the way I got there, I got invited by Jeremy. You have to get an invite, and what it does is allows you to put virtual machines so that you can access these OSs of these machines through a web browser, i.e. your smartphone or whatever. I've been toying around with one. I have Ubuntu on one, and I actually, log in through my phone anywhere I'm at, and it has the same functionality. They have a section in there. They have a community feedback for people trying to do stuff. They even have it where now you can have a domain. So it's a project that I've seen, I guess, in this infantile stage, because over the last couple of months that I've been participating in it, it has grown, and they've accomplished a lot as far as all the little bugs and kinks. And I think some of the other people in the LabX community may be unreasonable. If you're going to participate in some of this, you need things like the ideal environment as far as what type of internet service provider you have. If you try LabX and you have DSL or dial-up, you shouldn't be trying LabX.
Get fucked. That's right. What you're saying. Yeah, okay.
But it's something that's real innovative, and is good. You have more advanced users that do have the ideal setup. They have 4G networks, Ethernet, routers. They know what they're doing in terms of assigning different IP addresses to whatever and putting different open source OSs on there, a lot of Linux products and stuff. So you even have people doing code stuff. So you got people that know what they're doing, and those are the most that give the beneficial feedback in terms of individuals like me that's at the intermediate level. If you don't know what it is, you can check it out at I think it's labx.org, and they have a way you can register to try to get the invite. The invite takes a couple of days, and they kind of like pre-screen you to see that you really want to do that and that you know what you're doing. So check that out. Jeremy, is the address labsims.org or?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find it here.
So it's an educational tool. It's an education tool. It's basically
Well, it's more for the. You already got to have some education. You have to have some. It's not for a person that just want to go out and think they're gonna just put on something. When you go into their virtual machine, like I did, I put on Ubuntu, and I started using that, logging in through my phone, trying different places and stuff. So.
Oh, you froze on us, Daryl.
Yeah, I see.
Still there?
Yes, I'm here.
You froze to it. I don't think the Mac is treating you very well.
Yeah, the Mac don't look like it likes me. It's Jeremy's fault.
Now you're stuck on my screen though. It won't move. Oh, now it's all black. Fade to black.
Yeah.
Everybody wave bye. Bye, Daryl. Bye.
I'll be right back.
Bye.
Goodbye. So, Jeremy,
Our token black guy is experiencing technical difficulties.
Dang, man, just a nightmare tonight. Again, we got off to a lot better start today though than we did.
Oh yeah, this is much better than Sunday night.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I can't really complain too much about Sunday because for our first shot, I don't think we did too bad. No.
You know what? That's the thing. Anybody who's watching or listening right now, we basically decided to just kind of start doing a little talk show or a podcast or, post these to YouTube or whatever. For anybody who's interested in IT, we're just three average Joes. We got together and we thought, hey, you know what? It actually started, Jeremy had a big microphone, and I know Daryl's got a ton of studio equipment, so I went out and bought a cheap little headset, and Daryl hooked me up with a camera here. As you can see, my setup's a little different than it was last episode, and we just decided to get together and talk for a couple hours about IT, Internet of Things, anything that has to do with electronics or information technology. So yeah, so last episode, we had a little bit of a hiccup getting going. It took us a while to get some traction, but we got on the right page. So, oh,
I am back.
Is he back?
All right, Daryl, to answer your question before you dropped out on us, the address for LabX is labxnow.org.
So yeah, that's something some of you more advanced or intermediate people that are familiar with something other than Windows and Microsoft products, you might want to check out, especially if you have a favorite Linux you like, whether it's Mint or Ubuntu or one of those. So
one of those guys. If you're one of those guys.
Yes. It's not all about Microsoft.
Oh. What? What? Who says that?
Jeremy.
Yeah, I gotta say, for only being in the industry for just under a year now, all I'd used up to this point was Microsoft products, Windows and Microsoft Office Suite, and getting into the more broader, I guess, getting it out there a little bit more was like, wow, Microsoft is still okay, but it's a lot more fun to use these other products. It just stimulates your brain and gets you moving. You're using other things, and it's just a lot of fun, honestly. I mean, instead of just continuing beating your head up against the wall, there's other programs and OSs out there that are just a ton of fun to use and learn. So, but I think Microsoft, just its biggest advantage is it's been around forever. So that's what everybody knows and people are comfortable with. But people are beginning to more and more move to the Mac side of things. So Mac OS and MacBook Pros and Apple products, they're on the boom. I know that they've taken over the mobile world.
Well, we're going to see exactly how that's going to shift, considering that latest debacle with the FBI and the iPhone and those type of products like the Mac, where they have these systems that's are more refined and less hackable, less penetratable. So we're gonna see just how much the consumer end shift towards different products. The Windows 10 is supposed to be, a combination between the Windows 7 and the Windows 8. Most people I talk to still want to use Windows XP, which they don't no longer support. I think Jeremy might have an old copy over there somewhere.
No.
No.
I don't actually own a copy of Windows XP.
We can't have you as the guru now, man. It's dead.
I think I did have a copy at one point in time, but it's long since disappeared. Although I don't know if you can see this, but check this out. I did find my copy of
Windows 2000.
Windows 2000.
Professional.
Check that out.
Look at you, man. Look at you, big sexy with glasses.
With the fancy holographic label and all that. So.
And I know you got a Vista somewhere.
The only Vista I ever had is what came with a Dell laptop I bought that after, a year and a half, the damn thing went tits up on me, to borrow a phrase commonly used by the Brits.
It went tits up, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
And this is where I would call Michael Dell a fucking cunt or something.
Oh, you fucking cunt. Jesus, I think that's one of the few words that still hold. You say cunt, you throw cunt around there, that still makes people go, ooh, Jesus.
My Lanta.
But that's still the word. That's, if you call somebody a cunt, that's saying you're not fucking around. You're meaning business. You're pissed off. You're PO'd. So.
Well, I've not bought a Dell product since then. So.
Well, I thought Dell. Let's see. IBM went to Lenovo. Dell went somewhere.
Well, IBM is still up and running, but their consumer products went to Lenovo.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So IBM is still a major player.
Yeah. They sold their PC business first, and then Lenovo has since bought their x86 server business as well. So all that stuff has shifted from IBM to Lenovo now. But hey, the Chinese own everything anyway, so why not?
Well, where did Acer come from?
Acer is, I believe, Taiwanese, and Acer and Gateway are part of the same company. I don't know if Gateway owns Acer or Acer owns Gateway, but the stuff rolls off the same damn product line now.
And where did Asus come from?
Taiwan, I'm guessing.
Wow.
Asus? I like Asus. It makes some banging motherboards.
Yeah, I see a lot of gamers get those motherboards. They're big in the tablet industry also. They push out a lot of tablets. However, when they do that, the tablets only is like they do it for 6 months. Then it's a different version of it, upgraded. It got something. So they just pushing out tablets, and you take them back 8 months later because the USB charging port on all of them just sucks big time.
Daryl, of course, is speaking from personal experience.
Yes. I don't know what it is with the charging ports. I would think besides hot glue that some company will come up with something sound when you have these ports on these smaller devices such as smartphones and tablets, because the end user does not understand delicacy. They don't understand that take care of an electronic product. They want it to be rough and rugged, and they simply just abuse the charging ports. And within a year warranty, 7-8 months, they're taking it back in, and they just replace it. they say, oh, it ain't fixable, and they replaced it. So.
Well, I mean, maybe it's cheaper for them just to say, hey, fuck it, we'll just give you a new one, and then we'll resell the one that we're taking back. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what you see on the backdoor.com refurbished tablets for $19.99, or they throw it in a Walmart box or something.
Or something.
Right.
All right. So setting up a home IT lab. Jeremy, you want to kick that one off?
Okay. So, along with
needed equipment.
Along with the needed equipment. Under that category, it's going to depend on what you want to do with it. Do you want to do a networking lab? Do you want to do different types of servers? Do you want to share media files throughout the house? All these things are going to have different requirements for what type of equipment you're going to need to buy. You'll need to consider, is it realistic to have a lab at home, especially if you're thinking at all about using rack mount equipment. It does suck a lot of power, and you will notice a difference on your power bill. Also with the rack mount, what
kind of difference are we talking about? Are we talking just for the guys at home? Like, are we talking like $10 a month, $20 a month? Say if you put 2 rack-mounted servers in your house.
You're probably looking somewhere in that range, probably $10 to $20 a month, if you leave them on 24/7. Again, with the rack mount stuff, you've got to consider the added noise. If you get a 1U or 1 rack unit, it's going to have smaller fans that spin at a faster RPM, and it'll make more noise. It's a little bit more advantageous to use either a pedestal type server, which more resembles your tower computers, or to use rack mount equipment that's 2U or larger, so between 2 and 4U, so it'll be more something like that rather than the little guy. For those of us who are not single, so Mac, you would want to take this into consideration. I entitled this one the significant other acceptance factor.
I don't even want to get into it, man. It's brutal. No, not being in a relationship, but as far as no, you know what? Working in IT and then setting up some stuff at home and tinkering. I'm a tinkerer. I love to tinker. I like to tear shit apart, put it back together, get into it. Or if I'm setting up, a new desktop at home or something, it's like I kind of have to be the mother hen and babysit it and just watch it grow, for hours and hours. So yeah, my girlfriend definitely hates that. She doesn't like that I spend a ton of time, even when I'm at home. Like good example, when we got done with the PC clinic on Friday, I got home and instantly, set the desktop up that we got running again and started loading programs on it and exploring it and, learning more about Ubuntu. I'm familiar with Ubuntu, but not that familiar. So I definitely want to get in here and play with it, especially with the, hardware we put in it. It's a beefcake. So, yeah, she hated that. Her verbatim was, you just spent all fucking day at the PC clinic, and now you got home. You barely acknowledged me, and I was like, all right, yeah, you got me there.
So the question that everybody wants to know is, did she have her hands on her hips when she said that?
No, it was a lot worse. Trust me, it was a lot worse. I won't go into detail, but there were a few. She was a little heartbroken, I will say that. So.
You'll just have to make it up to her. You'll figure something out. Be creative.
Yep.
I'm very creative. But yeah, no, it does suck a lot of your time up, I will say that. So yeah, your significant other may not like that so much.
Let's take it to this point, Jeremy. For the novice to intermediate. A lot of the people that I speak to are relatives, people in my neighborhood. Most of them just want like some type of media thing. I think one of the main things, especially on the end user, is when they get their demarc point coming from their ISP provider, and most everybody work off Wi-Fi. They have that router right there, and then they want the whole house, the upstairs, the downstairs, the little closet in the basement, and they want the Wi-Fi to go all the way out to the end of their backyard, onto the, you know, right at the fence between them and the neighbors. So taking that in mind, what type of basic equipment should people be looking at or looking for? Because I would say maybe about 78% of end users have that Wi-Fi home, where we know you can hardwire an entire house if you wanted to, and have, you know, Ethernet ports in every room. But that's not financially feasible for most people. So they get that router, and no router, I don't think Comcast or whatever ISP provider just give you Nighthawks. So
Right. Well, so in the scenario you just laid out, the first thing to really take into consideration is that most end users have unrealistic expectations of the equipment that they're using.
yeah.
You're
Most
not,
end users?
well, almost all of them. So if you're using the Wi-Fi from your ISP, you know, it's probably a built-in, you know, all-inclusive unit that does the, you know, it's a router, a modem, and a wireless unit all built into one piece of equipment.
Yeah, they call it the gateway.
Right, right.
AT&T, Comcast, they call it the gateway.
Right, and their equipment is garbage. And I will go on record, I will swear on whatever holy book of your choice, their equipment is garbage. It's absolute crap. If you want to do what you're talking about, you're going to have to have their unit and then set up other equipment so that you have decent signal at the opposite end of your house. Or apartment, or, you know, whatever other type of domicile you live in. As far as reaching out to your backyard, again, without some sort of a repeater for the wireless signal, it's no bueno. It ain't going to happen. Again, unrealistic expectations, and this is where people need to, you know, consult with somebody that understands the equipment, typically somebody not from their internet provider, and, you know, get some help picking out the equipment and setting up the equipment. Yes, it's going to cost them a few dollars to do it. You know, if you're buddies with an IT person, you know, chances are a lot of them are going to work for pizza and beer, if you are really nice about it. But without
always work for pizza.
You know, without other equipment involved, you're not going to be able to do everything you talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, like you know, if you want wireless everywhere, yeah, your video's cutting out again, Daryl.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you know, if you're looking for wireless all over the place, you know, you're talking about multiple access points, and
Right.
you know, if you want the strongest signal, you know, and yeah, a lot of consumers think, oh, well, if I just get one, you know, it's going to cover me everywhere, and typically, I mean, I think for the most part it will. Maybe if you got a huge house, you know, you're going to notice a pretty big difference, but I think like I live in a little two-story townhouse that has a basement too, and I mean, Wi-Fi is, you know, strong signal everywhere. So,
okay, something else that needs to be taken into consideration. In my apartment that I'm living in right now, we've recently been doing some projects, and two of my rooms in the apartment now have been re-insulated, and they have the foam insulating board, which has a foil panel on it. And if you know, if any of our listeners know anything about how radio signals bounce around, if you have a room that is encased in foil, it's going to kill your signal. So, you know, you've got to take these things into consideration as well. If you've got, you know, if you've recently done remodeling and you've used that foam insulating board, which is great for the R factor of your house, but not so great for your Wi-Fi signal, you know, you're going to have to consider additional equipment in that instance as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, interference can come in almost off of anything now. I mean, yeah, you got to take those things into consideration, especially if your expectations are uber high. Then yeah, it's definitely good to consult with someone who knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about. And yes, not so much internet provider, because they're going to try and sell you something that they're going to up the price on it about 300%. And it's going to work like shit.
Do you mean to tell me the sales rep that I encountered with AT&T? He told me that the state-of-the-art gateway that they use, that they charge a ridiculous amount of money for per month, within 5 months I could have bought a decent Netgear or router or whatever. But he told me their state-of-the-art equipment was not compatible. So I said, well, what wireless 801 are you running? BGN what? And he said he was uncertain. I said, well, how would you know it's state of the art and you don't know what it runs?
Right.
Yeah. You know, especially if you go to Best Buy or something. I know, you know, you'll ask the associates there, and you know, they just kind of, they're going to want to sell you whatever is their top dollar thing. So you definitely got to get with somebody who knows their stuff. And really, you know, and if you're just your average user and you're just going to be tutzing around the web a little bit and checking email and this and that, you don't need to go out and buy, you know, a $200 gaming router. You know, you just don't need stuff like that. So same thing with PCs and laptops and stuff. Like, get what you need. You know, I mean, sure, go a little over the top sometimes, but if you're just going to be your average Joe, you know, you don't need to go all crazy with it.
And don't go to that store that's owned by the richest family in the world and buy your stuff. Their stuff is garbage as well.
Marked up easily 200-300%. Yes.
And it's usually low-end stuff to begin with that's been heavily marked up.
Oh, like that Dell computer for $1,800 with 2 gigs of RAM?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of Dell, what do you think of Alienware products since Dell bought them out a while ago? How do you think? Do you think they've stayed steady, or maybe lost a step, or what do you think, Jeremy?
It's been hit and miss. When I was going to school at Central Michigan University, I knew a couple of people that had Alienware stuff that came out not long after Dell bought them, and they had some major overheating problems. Now, that's been a few years, so maybe the stuff has improved. I can't really say from firsthand experience, but I know for a while there they were having some pretty interesting quality issues with overheating products and whatnot.
Yeah, I definitely think, in my personal experience, I've never owned any Alienware equipment. I can't afford that shit. It's freaking expensive. But it is. I mean, you know, a couple of buddies that I served with, they had some Alienware laptops that were pretty decent for the time. You know, this was back in 2008, 2009. I think they bought them in 07-ish roughly. So, you know, the hardware and things like that were, you know, at the time they were top notch, but they spent around $4,000 per computer that they bought. Yeah.
Wow. You can
Yeah,
build a
about
whole IT lab with $4,000.
I tell you what, I thought that was ridiculous, and I went, "That's a down payment on a car," I mean, or that
That's
is
a
a car,
car.
that's a car, yeah. And then, shortly after all that hotness, I went and purchased a Toshiba laptop. And it's nothing special, but it had roughly around the same specs, maybe just a couple steps behind theirs, but not too far. And I spent $900 on it, and they were livid. They're like, "What the hell?" And that was just, technology gets cheaper and cheaper. Stuff. The value depreciates shortly after you buy something, but still, I thought, well, at the time, I definitely already knew if you're buying an Alienware, you're buying the name. I mean, obviously, they had some good products, and they were obviously top of the line, but you were more or less paying for the name. But now I think I know a couple other guys that have had some Alienware products, and it seems like they've lost a couple steps since Dell bought them out. And I know I've never been a big fan of Dell to begin with, and I was kind of shocked when I found out that they did buy them. And but I know the guys from Alienware, the original owners, I think they've started up something else, haven't they, Jeremy? Didn't they start up something else, another
I don't
brand of
know.
computers or something? I don't know, but at least for me anyway, I think they've lost a couple steps and their quality's gone down a little bit. And I don't. They're still machines. Don't get me wrong. They're still powerhouses, but definitely come down a little bit, come down a notch or two on the pegboard.
Pop quiz, Jeremy. So
Oh.
now for the not necessarily the gamers, but for the techies, the intermediate people that's taking classes, learning about networking, learning about security and things, and want to have a decent home network or IT lab. Is it feasible for them coming from their ISP straight off the street line to set up a home IT lab, maybe on a subnet, or what type of security measures, or should they put a firewall between those because of some of the projects they may be working on or whatever?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. So, what a lot of people recommend doing, and I would tend to agree with this, if you're going to use the equipment that comes from your internet provider, and I understand that, some people don't have much of a choice because they have the DVR service or whatever service that your ISP may offer that's only available if you use their equipment. But if you want to do anything that you want to have control over the security for, what a lot of people will do is behind one of the ports on the ISP's router, you just add another router. And all consumer level routers are going to have a built-in firewall. So you could, of course, do something like that, or you could build yourself or repurpose a computer as a pfSense firewall, or use Linux, like an IPFire distribution, same type of thing, and it will, segregate your network on the ISP's equipment from the network on the equipment that you own and have full control over. The ISPs don't like to really give a lot of control to the end user. If you are a very patient person, I guess you could call up their helpline and try to persuade somebody to open something up for you so that you can do what you need to do. Myself, I don't have cable TV. I just strictly do streaming television, and so I have all the equipment is what I have purchased. So I've got a Zoom router, and currently a Zyxel. Let me back up a minute. A Zoom modem, a Zyxel router, which is going to be replaced shortly because there's no support for this particular model anymore. And from that, I've added my own separate access point dedicated access point, actually more than one of them, to be able to get Wi-Fi signal at the strength that I want throughout my apartment. But for the average person that wants to get into doing something along this line, probably the cheapest way is going to be to add a router or build a pfSense firewall box, which you could pick up a used computer at a thrift store and repurpose that. But that will give you the segregation that you need to be able to do your own stuff behind that, and still have the ISP equipment if that's something you need.
And I do want to add for anyone that's an end user, when you look into routers, make sure that they're BGN. Some of the things we ran across, if you got a system that's up-to-date standard, which is the 801.11n standard, and you have stuff in your house that's running on standard G, they're incompatible. So make sure you get something that's backwards compatible, because your system, your network is only as good as the oldest component in it. So if you don't have that knowledge, once again, Jeremy mentioned that you want to talk to someone with that knowledge, or if you do a little Google and see that you need to have compatibility with these different components, make sure you do that.
Outstanding. Yes. Definitely consult with someone who knows, or Google, YouTube, all them type of deals.
Yeah,
Google can be your best friend.
Just one thing to add: AC is the most up-to-date wireless standard.
Yes.
So if you want to spend an extra $20, then you can go past what N offers even. So
yeah. And you know what? I read an article on that about 2 weeks ago too.
So I would definitely say, if you're just going to get into repairs or whatever, or even setting up a little shop at your house, something like that, definitely don't go and try to splurge and buy everything all at once. Buy things as you need them. Tools, monitors, maybe an extra power supply here or there, something along those lines, because you don't want to, who's got the money to buy all that crap at once anyway? So don't get, oh man, I need to dedicate $3,000 to all this all at once. Definitely pick up piece by piece as you need them. That's my 2 cents.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. The stuff that I've got, everybody that I've come into contact with seems to be pretty impressed with the stuff that I've amassed over the years. But that's just the key right there, is that it's been purchases of equipment and pieces of things as I've needed it, piecemeal over time. I never went out and bought $3,000 worth of stuff all at once. I don't tend to have that kind of scratch around as disposable income. So, it's nothing that people can't do if they, kind of plot out what they want to do and, set some goals to get the equipment.
Absolutely.
I froze again. I really think this storm is messing with my signal. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, he was there and then he was gone. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Daryl is having a few technical difficulties.
This is where we would cue Metallica's Fade to Black.
Yeah, Metallica's never bad. Well, most of their songs anyway. Some of them are a little, all right, so talking about IT news, Slashdot. Did you want to talk about Slashdot, or were we just using that as a reference?
Let's hold that until Sunday, because the stuff I've got right now isn't terribly substantial. So why don't we hold the IT news until the Sunday episode,
Okay.
and just bump down to the projects, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. All right, Jeremy, Raspberry Pi.
All right,
Let's talk about Raspberry Pis again.
I just wanted to mention briefly, I haven't started any new projects with the Raspberry Pi, but since the Sunday episode was recorded, the Raspberry Pi 3 has been released, still available for $35. I have no idea what quantity they are available in currently. But if you have not bought a Pi and you're looking to do something with one, I would say, hold out until you can get the Pi 3, because it does have a faster processor. It's a 64-bit processor. I believe it's 1.2 gigahertz quad-core 64-bit processor, and it does feature built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth LE. So it's a nice step up from the Raspberry Pi 2 model.
Yeah, sounds like it. Definitely you get a little bit more bang for your buck, especially for $35 right now. That sounds
Right.
like a good investment, and fairly cheap if you're looking to just get into one of these things and play around with. You can run a ton of different things on them. So the Raspberry Pi 3.0 definitely a good little tool to pick up if you want to run some video games, or maybe build a small robot or something, or just play around with. It's a mini computer that's awesome sauce. I mean, what else can you say about it? Get a lot of bang for your buck right there. So, and you can daisy chain these and run multiple Pis at once and build like a little mini supercomputer out of these, right?
Yep, you can do a little, on the Linux side of things, they call it like a Beowulf cluster, and basically it's just having a bunch of computers tied together with networking equipment, and harnessing the collective power of all the units. The nice thing about doing this is that the concepts are going to be the same on the Raspberry Pi as they would be on Intel equipment that costs thousands of dollars for a single unit. The difference being that you get a little bit less power with the Raspberry Pi, but your power bill isn't going to show the big hit, and neither is your wallet. So it's much more economical to start setting something like that up with Raspberry Pis, testing out a concept, do prototyping, those types of things, and then if you need beefier equipment, then you can always invest in that at a later point in time.
And
Yeah,
FYI,
absolutely.
Pi is P-I, not P-I-E.
What? You mean like this isn't something I can go to Walmart and pick up and eat, and ingest 1,000 calories all at once? No?
No.
Daryl, I think your mic cut out. Can't hear you. Some bitch.
Well, while we're waiting for
Um,
Daryl, he did at one point in time relay a story of visiting a local electronics store, which we will let remain nameless because we don't want to embarrass them. But he had gone in there and asked them if they had any Raspberry Pi, and I guess these guys thought that he was looking for baked goods and not something in electronics. So,
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
I did. Yeah, you're up.
Yeah, that's true. True story right there. Guy thought I was asking. He said he preferred apple pie.
I ran into something like that too at Best Buy. They're a big corporation. I don't care. Yeah, I ran into that Best Buy. I was looking for a hub, but I asked to a hard drive dock. Sorry, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, where are you guys' toasters at?" And he said, "I think you're in the wrong department." I said, "No, no, no. You're like a hard drive dock. I can plug multiple hard drives into. It's like a toaster. You put it in, and you have a little button that pops them up, and I've never heard him called that before, and I thought it was kind of funny. I think you're in the wrong department." And he was getting ready to call someone over from. They have a whole appliance section, you guys know. So yeah, that was a funny little story. I guess I do know a little more tech jargon than I thought.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Funny enough, there is a clone of the Raspberry Pi called the Banana Pi. So you could go back into that electronics store, Daryl, and have a little fun with the guy.
No. Nope. He's going to be like, "Are you trying to put a banana in my tailpipe?"
Oh.
We're going to stick with raspberries.
You're so dirty. You're so dirty. All right. So IoT security and what to consider. Yeah, this could be a tricky dealio, especially if you have a lot of IoT devices. And for those of you, maybe new listeners that don't know what IoT devices could be your watch. I currently do not have a smartwatch. I just have a Timex, little Iron Man. But yeah, like an Apple Watch, or Garmin's got one out. I saw a new one out at Sam's Club the other day, but I can't remember what it was called. The Samsung's got one. Smartwatches are on the rise. A lot of people are interested in them. Nest thermostats are one. Anything that pretty much internet could be on, Internet of Things. Security with those definitely, because you got to think, the more things that you have internet on, or internet capabilities, the more vulnerable you begin to become. So you got to keep in mind security with those. So yeah, I know a friend of mine was talking to me about how he didn't know this, but his smart TV actually has Wi-Fi in his TV remote. I guess his remote has a MAC address, and it connects to your Wi-Fi. And he didn't even realize that. Yeah, he had to put it on a whole other subnet and lock it down. And he was like, "I was pissed when I heard about that, because then that's another device I got to add, and this and that." So yeah, you got to think about those type of things. You want to touch up more on that, Jeremy or Daryl?
Well, I think you got the ball rolling on that. It's whenever you add a device that can be connected to the internet, it's important to consider what the implications can be on your existing network. You want to do some testing, and this is again something that most end users will not do because they either don't think it's necessary, or they just don't know how to go about it. But it never hurts to test out a device. In the case of a smart TV, you may want to disable the smart TV functions in favor of using something like a Roku box, which typically, I won't say all the time, but typically will get more updates to the firmware on it than a smart TV, which, TV manufacturers want to keep making money, so they'll release the TV, and 6 months later or less, they'll release a newer model, and sooner or later the TV you bought is not going to get any more updates. Again, this is the same type of situation like, home routers. Belkin and Linksys and Netgear are all pretty notorious for, releasing a model, and, they'll go 6 months or a year with updates, and then they'll drop it and, put out a new model or a slight revision, and, only support the newer version of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I know definitely this goes with almost damn near any device, but when something brand spanking new comes out, I was thinking about, when you said TVs, I was thinking about the new 4K TVs. It seems like every time you buy something, I I never go and splurge for it. Something brand new. I always wait till the second model comes out, because it seems like every time you buy something that's brand spanking new, a new product line, that first version of it, it seems like it runs okay for a month or two or something, but then something goes wrong, something breaks, or it just sucks, or even the new updates that they push out for it don't really fix it. So I would definitely say, especially with the 4K TVs, I know there's a huge uproar about them, about just how hot they are, as far as the graphics and all the pixels, and how lifelike everything looks. It's like, man, I would not splurge for one right now, because something's going to go wrong with one of them, and you're going to be out $4,000.
Right.
So yeah, I wait on everything. Wait for the second version of that, the 2.0 of whatever it is. I certainly wait for it, because that one's normally the one that's going to run smoother, better. What was it, like the old PlayStation 3s, like the very first model, they had some overheating issues or something. I think the Xbox One had something like that too, like when they first were released.
The Xbox 360 for sure had problems.
Yeah.
I've got one of the first generation PlayStation 3s, and I've never had an overheating issue with it.
Okay.
But of course, if you put something like that in an enclosed entertainment center, then you're going to run the risk of overheating it. But that's just a matter of ventilation.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I know a lot of people have the sliding doors on their entertainment, and they leave them shut.
Yep.
It's like, you can't breathe,
Yeah, and I agree with you what you said about the 4K TVs, although it's probably less applicable to 4K now, because that has been around for a couple of generations worth of products. The big thing now is, just as 4K is starting to trickle out into the market and start to drop in price, the next thing is going to be 8K, which they've already got these in Japan, but I view that as something that's probably 10 years off as far as getting any penetration in the U.S. and getting them to a price people can afford, and getting content that takes advantage of the capabilities.
At what point, though, does it... Go ahead, Daryl.
I was gonna say, how far off do you think the transition is between America consumers on technology and countries like Japan or China? Because even though the perception is that we're technologically advanced, that may only pertain to maybe the military or higher science levels, opposed to the end consumers, because a lot of IT things get released in Japan and Europe, for that fact, that may not get here till later.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say our military is more. Our military could be more. I guess is more technologically advanced than a lot of other militaries. I would certainly say they don't really spare any expense when it comes to new equipment and things like that. But I would say our military is more fundamentally sound, I think, than a lot of other military, other countries' militaries.
I would make an exception with the Navy there, because they just paid out a bunch of money to Microsoft to continue supporting Windows XP, because apparently they didn't get the memo that it wasn't going to be supported, yeah, so...
well, the problem with that, though, is, all right, you build a battleship, right? You put all this high-tech equipment in it, whatever. You want an operating system that's going to be able to run it all at, and XP was good for that. XP was a machine. It just ran. I know you see a lot of warehouses and factories still using XP for their internal spreadsheets or whatever they're using, and that was just because it worked, and they didn't really need anything with a lot of bells and whistles, stuff like that. So you got to think, we have X amount of battleships or carriers in our fleet. How much is it going to cost, and how much time is it going to take? That's the biggest thing, I think, is how how much resources are we going to be able to shuck out in order to upgrade? So
Right. But I would also imagine that the Navy is getting a good sized discount from Microsoft on whatever they have. And after that whole debacle, what, 15, 20 years ago now, where they had that battleship that, or some sort of ship in the Navy that was running some version of Windows. I don't know if it was Windows NT or if it was Windows, one of the Windows Server versions, but this thing was out in the middle of some body of water someplace, and it just completely took a crap on them, and they had to tow the damn thing back into port. But
so they're dead in the water.
pretty much. So you would think that they would have learned the lesson and just started a migration to Linux or something that's really more solid and has a track record of running stuff like a battleship or mission critical type of applications. Windows.
Oh yeah.
For all the good parts of Windows, it still has that legacy of coming from a single user operating system, and a lot of the advances that Windows has made and Microsoft has made and money invested in it, there's still a lot of that legacy stuff as far as their design that continues to bite them in the ass over and over again.
Yeah, I think definitely though, like my experience with Linux though is it's just solid. Yeah, you're right, and it seems like the more you have running in the background and things like that, the better it does. It's good at multitasking. And, really, that's kind of what it's built for. Versus, Microsoft is more built for a single user. That's maybe has a few windows open, something like that. But Linux, you think of a battleship or a carrier, tons of stuff going on, tons of departments happening. You got the guys, launching missiles and shit. You got the guy looking at the radar all the time. Definitely a lot of moving parts. And I think, you're probably right. Something more of a Linux-based program would be more suitable for them. But maybe Microsoft's got some contract with the government that, they can't void or opt out of. So you don't know. And it would be cheaper, too, because Linux is open source. I mean,
right.
It'd be free. But I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. But is this a reason to invest or build a better router/firewall with IoT security? I would definitely say invest into some more security for sure, because I don't think your AT&T box is going to cut it. I definitely think you could, maybe looking at something that's custom built, or definitely get something a little more higher end.
Again, going back to the scenario we were talking about earlier, this is a place where you could take, and if you had your AT&T or Comcast router, put another router behind that, and then hang your IoT devices off from the router that you have full control over. And then it's only going to be seen by the outside world if you set up those ports to allow it to be seen. And, again, having full control over something like that is going to be a good thing, because a lot of people call the Internet of Things, they actually call it the Internet of Insecure Things, because there have been a lot of devices that have been put out on the market a little too fast without proper quality assurance testing, proper security testing, and it's just, oh well, we've got a group of guys together and we designed this product in a weekend, and we've got a manufacturer, so let's get it out there and we'll pick up the pieces later if something goes completely haywire.
Wow.
There's just a lot of this people getting bit by the early adopter syndrome. You know, you buy something when it's new and you kind of get bit in the ass by it because, you know, when they finally fix whatever problem it has, you know, it ends up being something where you have to replace the unit that you already have in order to take advantage of the fix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that the speaker pointed out at the Mobile Monday thing, you know, internet everywhere, and what I see is a lot of people have their smartphones on roaming to pick up internet signals, which kills their battery because it's steadily scanning.
Yep.
I have my phone set to where I don't scan for Wi-Fi and only connect to networks that I trust.
Right.
So, but a lot of people, you know, they get their smartphones, they upgrade, and they got this internal scanner in the background currently scanning. So when you get to mobile IoT things, now for the home, as you stated, you know, setting up that firewall behind the ISP's gateway or whatever. But if they got something that's a mobile IoT thing and it's steady putting out this scanner and stuff, they make themselves very vulnerable too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's just the thing. Hardly anybody that doesn't, that's not used to, or doesn't know anything about IT, definitely they just think, oh, I can get this. It's got internet capabilities, and we can just put it on the web, and I'm going to be golden, you know. And honestly, what's wrong with that? You know, if you're just your average consumer, you're kind of putting your trust into those developers and the companies that, you know, provided these things. That, yeah, they are supposed to be secure and they're supposed to be safe. But, you know, there's always some other guru out there that, you know, wants to prove otherwise. So, you know, some people just want to watch the world burn, right? So, but no, yeah, you know, you can't blame most of these users or, you know, folks because, you know, yeah, what's wrong with just, hey, I can pick my phone up, and what's wrong with checking my bank account at McDonald's? You know, isn't your shit supposed to be locked down? I mean, they're expecting you. You know, they're expecting McDonald's or, you know, whoever's providing that Wi-Fi to, you know, have your shit secure. I mean, you know, what's wrong with that? But, I mean, you know, you're going to untrusted, you know, sources. I mean, what do you expect? I mean, a little common sense would kick in, right? But
we should test that theory and just maybe go around with Wireshark or something and just scan all the local restaurants in entire metropolitan area.
that would have to be that'd be quite the social experiment.
Yeah, I mean, we can notify them beforehand and just say, you know, on any given day, we're gonna go by and see how secure your public Wi-Fi is, and then maybe
You know what they're going to tell you though. They're going to tell you on any given day you can go fuck yourself. We don't want that. Stop it.
Yep.
Well, what place?
Go ahead.
What place do you go to now that doesn't have Wi-Fi anymore, though? I mean, seriously, you know, consumers are expecting you to have Wi-Fi because, you know, they want that booming internet, you know. But half the time, the Wi-Fi they're on, it would just be, they would have a lot better. It'd be a lot faster if they just use their cellular network that they're using, you know. So I know, like, I usually just have my Wi-Fi here on at home, and that's pretty much it. I mean, everywhere else I just use my 4G because half the time it's faster than wherever I'm trying to connect to anyway. So
yeah, same here.
Okay. Okay, I think we covered that. Separate IoT devices on separate subnets or VLANs. All right, there are a couple of links in here that I put in here. I didn't have a ton of time to look through them, so maybe we'll just save those for Sunday. But there was an interesting article here where, what's his name? John McAfee? Is that his name?
Yeah, McAfee. John.
Okay. McAfee. Yeah, there was a video on there that I put on the checklist here that was him talking about breaking Apple's security, you know, their encryption. He said you need a hardware engineer and a software engineer, and the hardware engineer is going to tear apart a phone. or tear the phone apart, and then get on the processor and boom, get out all the binary, and then use another software tool to make it so you can read it, and then your software developer is going to come around and then find the keyboard that he can get into, and boom, your encryption is shit. He said he's laughing at the FBI basically about how ridiculous, that they're making such a big case out of this, when it's like, he says anyway, that you can crack iPhone's security in a matter of minutes, half hour to an hour, and the FBI is just making a huge rampage because Apple won't open up their doors to them. So that was kind of funny.
That's a big issue, especially with him. I watched the video with you. For him to come out and say that, and for us to be IT professionals, and me, I'm into the legal aspect, especially when it comes to like the Fourth Amendment, because when the internet came out, they had nowhere legally to tag it to, so then you came out with internet privacy and privacy issues governed under the Fourth Amendment. So that for the FBI to step out only being one source of State Departments, you got the FBI, ATF, DEA, all these entities. If Apple was to just went ahead and did that, I think it would have been a bigger outcry in lieu of the small case that they say. The case is very important. It's a violent, tragic case, but for them to do that and compromise the entire corporation or the validity of the corporation based on it's famous for its security, that was crazy for the FBI to blow that out of proportion.
Well, it's funny because every tech site you go to that has some sort of news, it seems like their top 3 or 4 posts are all Apple and FBI feuds.
Right.
I don't really see, personally, I think Apple's just trying to hide behind it because they got a lot of offshore shit going on, and they don't want the FBI snooping in it. I mean, let's be honest. Half of the majority of Apple sales are higher in other countries like China and Japan. They make more profit over there than they do here in the U.S. Most of their products are purchased over there, and that's where most of the revenue comes from, more than 50% anyway. And a lot of the money that they make over there, they don't have to pay taxes on. And I think maybe they're shuffling around some stuff behind the books, and hey, fuck you, we don't have to listen to you because it's all offshore anyway, and we don't want you getting a hold of it anywho. So I don't know. To me, that just makes more sense to me. Is they're saying that. I know a lot of people are saying that they have to pay more taxes because they've got all this stuff that's going on overseas that they're not paying taxes on, so they're just making a buku amount of money. And the CEO of Apple there was like, well, hey, we pay everything that we have to pay, so shut the fuck up. That's basically what he wanted to say. He did an interview with 60 Minutes a while back that I watched, and that's pretty much what he said in a nutshell was, screw off. I mean, shit, we're doing everything legally. We're doing everything by the book. Yeah, if you want to make money, if you don't want to pay taxes, go make some other product and sell it offshore, and there you go. Fuck off. Don't be mad because we're doing it.
The other thing to keep in mind with Apple is that Apple is the only computer manufacturer that year over year continues to grow, whereas your Dells, Acer, Gateway, all the PC manufacturers, they continue to lose revenue and sales of desktop and laptop computers. So Apple, for whatever your opinion, anybody's opinion may be of Apple, they are still making money and employing people, doing what they're doing. So
no, absolutely. I definitely think one, their products are sexy as fuck, aren't they? I mean, they just look good. I like the iPhone. iPhone is the only Apple device that I actually have. Daryl, your video is cutting out again.
Yep.
The iPhone is the only Apple product that I actually have, and the main reason for that is because I've had some smartphones in the past that were Android, and they took a dump on me. I mean, all of them were fuzzy. They had glitches in the systems. They were unreliable, and I just couldn't depend on them. And I finally made a switch a couple years ago and got an iPhone 4. It was already after the iPhone 5 had come out, but Verizon was doing something where you get a free iPhone if you sign up, and I said, well, screw it, and I got one, and I loved it, and it ran well for a while, but then, it was an iPhone 4, and the 5 had come out, or the 4S, and then the 5, and then the 5C, the 5S, so it was a couple steps behind the newer generation, so I bumped up to the iPhone 6, and I love it. I mean, the thing works all the time. It never crashes. It's reliable. And honestly, I like the fingerprint scanner on it. I'm not worried about Apple selling my fingerprints to the government because I'm already in the system, being a military operative. So I'm not too concerned about that, but I just liked it because it was sexy. And it works. And they kind of dulled down some of the features as far as customizing and things like that by default. But that's what makes it run so smooth and so good, in my opinion.
Well, okay, so I have had very good experiences with Android phones, but okay, so my current Android phone is a Nexus 6. They already had a newer version, the 6X or whatever the next one is. So the first Android phone that I got was the Galaxy Nexus. It was made by Samsung. It was the very first 4G LTE phone that Verizon ever had available. I got that the day it came out. My only complaint I ever had with that phone was that the battery life on it sucked. But as far as being basically a stock Android experience, it was very responsive. It was a good, solid phone. I went from that to a Moto X, Motorola Moto X. And the reason I went to that, again, it was a near stock Android experience. There wasn't a lot of extra crap on it. And it was one of the few phones, that phone was actually built in the US. The Nexus 6, I wanted a bigger phone, and all the reviews I read on the phone I've got now said, oh, well, it's basically a stretched out Moto X. And it has been a rock-solid phone. Generally, with Androids, anything with Nexus in the name is going to be rock-solid. It's officially sanctioned by Google and built by one of their partners. It's when you venture off into some of these other phones, other Android phones, especially, a lot of people, and I'm not saying you did, but a lot of people go for the cheapest Android phone they can get. That's when people have problems with needing to reboot it all the time with, screen issues and different things like that. But maybe I've just been lucky, but I've had very good luck with the Android phones. And, to me, the iOS devices, the iPhone and the iPads, to me, they're too locked down. They do not give the developers the lower level access to things. So there are some things that you cannot do on an iPhone that you can on an Android.
Yeah,
so,
I definitely know that's one of the.
Yeah, that's my rationale for going with Android stuff. But I mean, I may not like iOS devices, but I am absolutely sold on the Mac platform. So I guess it's 6 of one and half dozen of the other type of thing.
Right. No, I definitely kept. I sticked with the iPhone when I got the iPhone 6. Mainly, one, I liked the style of the phone. I thought it had a good weight to it.
Sure.
I didn't think it was too huge. They had the iPhone 6 Plus, which I think that's too big, man. It's like having a tablet. But it is, but I like the 6, and honestly, like I like the fingerprint scanner. That was a big thing. I know that wasn't the only phone out at the time that had it, but I also, my iTunes, all my music at the time was all iTunes. But I've been thinking about venturing on to the Nexus. But my first smartphone I had was the Droid, or was the first one was the Droid, like the I can't remember what, but then there was the
slide
Droid
out
X.
keyboard.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, those were glitchy as hell. My sister had one of those, and after the first 6 months, it started giving her problems.
Yeah.
It was a great proof of concept, but it was not the most reliable phone out there by any stretch.
Well, that's what sold me though, was that it had the slide out keyboard, because I don't think at the time I wasn't ready to go full touchscreen. I liked my buttons, and then
Sure.
then came the Droid X, and then the Droid X2. And honestly, they weren't bad phones, but some of the features about them I wasn't too keen on, and I think I had to reboot it. Seemed at least a couple times a week. I had to shut it off,
Yeah.
turn it back on, and that's when. And before that, I guess I've always had horrible luck with phones. I had the Rumor, the LG Rumor. It had a slide out keyboard.
Okay.
That was before the touchscreen era, and I went through 3 of those. 2 of them glitched out on me, and then 1 just died. I don't know what happened to it. And I'm pretty good with my equipment. Even before I got into IT, I've always been really good about them, keeping them clean and not banging them around, stuff like that. But before that, I had Nextel shit. I had the i90, I think it was called, and then before that, something like the the 430, something like that. And those were bricks. I mean, they were rock solid. They didn't have as many parts, obviously, but but then I switched to Apple, and I don't know. It's hard to go back now, honestly.
Well, before I got the Galaxy Nexus, I went through 2 BlackBerry phones. So for 4 years, I was using BlackBerry. And I ran the last contract out, and then waited an extra couple of months so that I could get the Galaxy Nexus the day it came out. I pre-ordered the doggone thing, and I haven't looked back as far as phone platforms. And look where BlackBerry is now. They're selling Android phones.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, if you were doing emails and if you needed to get business done, BlackBerry was the way to go.
Their keyboards were great. They really were.
Yeah. They were capable machines for what they were, and at their time, I mean, nobody could compete with them really. That was the shitty part. Was it's kind of like they stood in time, like everybody kind of progressed, and BlackBerry just kind of froze. It's like they couldn't keep up with everything else that was coming out. So
they originally came out. They had a Raspberry Pi in a.
Right.
That was a joke.
Outstanding. All right, let's move on to something new here. We've been talking about phones and IoT for a while. Let's talk about. So, Jeremy, as a technician, and Daryl, you can chime in too. I know Jeremy's been hogging the mic here the whole time. Must-have tools in your toolbox as a technician or an IT professional. Why don't you kick that off, Daryl? What are some programs that you use on a daily basis?
I found out the hard way after doing PC clinic after PC clinic. I have a little assortment of thumb drives, and the thumb drives has various tools on them. I found out that if you get career specific, say you're a network administrator and you're just going to work on servers and a hardware component burns out and you have to order it, I understand that. But as an overall general technician, get you a set of thumb drives. You may have to run some type of antivirus removal tool or something that you can have the system active on. You may have to view someone's hard drives through another OS, a Linux OS or something. So you always want to have a assortment of thumb drives. Now, what you have on those thumb drives will, sometimes be your preference. I know Mac UI and Jeremy, we all use like Malwarebytes. They have a free version. You may have a paid version of something. So you may have that. You may have tools that scan for viruses to Webroot or something like that. You also want to have a tiny toolkit, preferably magnetized. So if you need to take out tiny screws and don't want to lose them or drop them into desktops where you end up ripping everything apart, you want to have ESD bracelet, EDS bracelet, discharge static bracelet. That because when you work on towers and you might be somewhere where it's carpet, where you can generate an electric charge through the static of walking through the carpet. So you want to have that. And if you're working on tablets and phones and stuff, you want to have your spudgers. Those are the little plastic things that help take apart the tablet or the phone. And you want to have
are they butchers or black sticks?
Yeah, they're labeled as black sticks also. Yes, on Amazon. And something else I learned from experience, you want to have a small compartment tray for screws and washers and little parts. And you need one, I will say, with at least a dozen compartments because there are so many tiny screws and laptops and 30 of them. You have some that's used for standoffs for connectivity throughout the board. You have some that just might be on the bezel. You have some that may be holding in the hard drive or the RAM or different parts of a laptop. So you want to have a compartment tray where you can put things safe and sound and have some type of order to your disassembly so you won't have that extra screw when you put everything back together wondering where does this go.
Right, definitely. It's definitely good when you're taking shit apart to take it out. The order that you took it out in, laid it out in that order. That way, when you're putting it back together, I know I've seen a bunch of guys, they're tearing apart a laptop or something, and they're just throwing screws all in the same little bin. It's like, some of those are different width and height, and some, they're meant to go in a certain spot. So, but I just, hey, that's not my dealio. I throw in my 2 cents, and I usually get, a fuck off. I know everything type of deal. So. But yeah, definitely. One of them trays I think that Daryl was talking about, I have a little tray here, just like this, something like this. This is like $2 at Meijer's. I mean, definitely not a bad investment. And I got some other screws and some stuff in here. There's a little, you can see some memory in there. I took out of an old PC. I just chucked it in there for the time being. Definitely, absolutely, you want to get yourself one of them little tiny trays. What are some other like software tools you might want to, consider carrying around on a daily basis, Jeremy?
Daily stuff to have with you would be something like Hiren's, a Hiren's boot disk. Again, you can put this on a USB drive and have multiple different utilities that you can boot from. You might want to have a copy of DBAN, which is Derek's boot and nuke. So if you need to, if you're upgrading somebody's hard drive, you may want to give them some assurance that if they don't want the previous hard drive, that it has been securely wiped, and the chances of people getting their data off there are going to be very slim.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's a commercial tool called D72, which I've had since last fall, and I've really only scratched the surface of the capabilities of this particular tool, but if you're doing routine work on Windows PCs especially, it will automate a lot of the sort of monotonous, you do this on every computer type of tasks, and let you set it and walk away, and then when you come back, it'll be done. It'll give you nice little reports.
Yeah,
you know,
D7 II. Yeah, that D7 II is actually a nifty tool. I actually quit paying for it though. I canceled my subscription because wasn't really using it. You can buy a yearly subscription, which I think you did, right, Jeremy?
yep, I got the year
Um,
subscription.
Yep, and then or you can do like a monthly subscription, which it isn't too much. I think it's only like $20 a month. And it is a really neat tool, but honestly, there was so much to it. Just like Jeremy had said, he hasn't really scratched the surface too much with it. And for me, this kind of stuff that I do, I wasn't really utilizing everything that D7 II, had to offer. And honestly, I didn't know how to use some of it. And I didn't want to mess something up or maybe run a program that I didn't know what the hell was it doing, and so I kind of quit. Plus, I'd only used it maybe once, honestly. I think I'd had it for about 6 months, and I just kind of said, yeah, I'm all right with letting it go. So
Right.
definitely, though, if I was working on more computers on a daily basis, working on 2 or 3, just cleaning them up a little bit, I think I would, probably invest into it. But honestly, I hadn't made my money back after buying it or after getting a subscription with it. So.
Well, and in all honesty, they are rewriting the product. It's going to next version is going to be called D7X. I'm not sure when that's going to come out, but I know their current pricing is if you wanted to do a 5-user license for a year, it would be like $300. So, when my subscription comes up in the fall, I would be willing to go in a third with each of you guys, and if we wanted to purchase a 5-user license, that's something that then all of us could have a copy of our own, plus we'd have 2 extras if we started working with any other tech to, get them up to speed with it. But,
Yeah.
that's something to think about in the fall, but I think at $100 a pop, that's from each of us, that would be a mutually beneficial way to go about getting that software and each of us having access to it.
Yeah, that's something to think about.
Yeah, and definitely, it's a great product. It really is, and I really liked it, and I enjoyed a lot of the features that it came with it, and that it was automated. That you could, essentially one click, and you can run several different programs, and they will all run automatically and in the background. You don't have to babysit it, and it was nice too. When you first open it up on a computer, it would tell you, the version it was. It'd give you all the specs of the computer, whether
Right.
antivirus was enabled, and you can set it up in the configuration to turn it off when you start running your own scans and things like that. It was definitely a really, really neat tool. I just want to emphasize, though, that I stopped paying for it just because I wasn't using it, really. I wasn't utilizing it, I guess, to its full capabilities, and I thought, well, I can live without it for now. But definitely it's a great tool if you do work on a lot of computers and do a lot of cleanups. Certainly something you want to look into. And you get that
Definitely.
from what is it? FoolishIT.
FoolishIT.com.
Yep. You can get that. But a really neat tool that they offer for free is called Kill 'Em All, and that tool is rather amazing. So if you open up a PC or any computer that you're working on, and it's infected with it's got a ton of malware and it's crap on it. What you can do is you can run Kill 'Em All. Say if you're just having problems, say just getting into the control panel or whatever. They've got a ton of other stuff open in the background. Say just when they start their computer, they got WeatherBug that pops up, or iTunes, or they got a dozen different programs that pop up, like sticky notes and other gadgets, that people are still running on their PCs, which are dangerous, by the way. What Kill 'Em All does is it shuts everything off, basically, and it just keeps the computer, it just leaves the programs that are essential for the computer to run. So it's almost like safe mode, if you will. It just boots up programs or keeps programs running that are necessary to keep the computer running. But it kills all the malicious, any malicious software that's on there. It it terminates all that crap, and so you're not fighting against a machine. I was working with a tech one time at a PC clinic. We all know his name. I won't name his name though. But he was on this thing for like 2.5 hours, and he was struggling to shut programs off, and he was getting frustrated and pissed off, and I come over, pop in my thumb drive, boom, run the program, and boom, walked away. And what'd you do? I'm just being a technician, I guess. Thinking smarter, not harder. And I was able to accomplish more, I think, in 45 minutes with that PC than he did in almost 2.5, 3 hours that he was working on it. So it's definitely neat. That's definitely, to me, one of my go-to tools if I'm working on something and it's all janky. I come up to someone, I can't, boom, pop that in, run kill them all, and it shuts everything off. So I'm not fighting. I'm not playing tug of war with a fucking laptop that I want to throw out the window.
That is a great program.
Yeah, and keep in mind that that is integrated in their D7.2 product. There's still a standalone version, which I don't think they are maintaining anymore, but it still functions, but it is an integrated part of the D7.2, and it will be part of D7X as well. So,
that's one of the first programs they have on there as far as what you want to run when you start your scan. Is do you want to run Kill 'Em All? And I mean, just the benefits of the tool, absolutely, yes, you want to run Kill 'Em All.
and also, Mac, you mentioned earlier about in terms of hardware. I totally agree with you that anybody out there repairing or being a repair technician of desktop, laptops, whatever, outside of those base things, buy things as you need them. But one other thing I would suggest you get is a universal adapter. I ran across so many people with the wrong adapters that are bitten, chewed, severed, work sometimes, doesn't work sometimes.
We're talking power adapters?
Yes, power adapters. They have multi-tip ones. The one I purchased has been very instrumental in just starting off the correct diagnosis for a computer. And you know as well as I know, Mac and Jeremy, that eventually we got like docking, external dockings, external disc players, and things of that. But as a person needs it, that's when they should get it, and not just try to get everything at once, other than those basic things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those universal power adapters, those are really neat. I actually picked one of these up probably, I think I picked this up in like 2008. It was because my old Dell that I had, so before I even got into IT stuff, my old Dell power adapter took a dump, and so I just went to like Walmart or Myers or something, and I picked up, it comes with a power brick, and then it comes with all these nifty little adapters, for HP, Dell, Toshiba, all the main manufacturers, it comes with the right adapter, so you can plug that in and get going. And half the time, a lot of computers we see actually, it won't turn on. I would say probably 7 out of 10 times it's the power adapter. The brick is either bad, or a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of bricks, they have the AC connector plugs into the brick. Boom, and a lot of times that's just not plugged in all the way.
Right.
So, but no, it's definitely a neat tool.
Didn't we just experience something like that, Jeremy?
On Friday.
Yeah, someone just simply didn't have their battery charged from the plug.
Yeah.
Wow.
And these aren't very, and a lot of it is pretty neat. Like if someone, hey, can you work on my computer? I forgot my power, I forgot my power adapter at home. Hey, it's all right. Hey, boom, we got you hooked up right here. So, you run into that a lot. And another thing I wanted to show you guys real quick is this toolkit right here from iFixit.com. This thing is awesome. This was a bit pricey, and I wouldn't recommend just going out and getting one unless you know you're going to use it. But this thing comes with, I think it came with like 64 tools altogether, and it was around $73 after shipping, all that crap. But it comes with a 54-bit driver set. It's really neat. I don't know if you can see without the glare, but you know, it comes with all these different. It comes with like the Pentalobe drivers for when you're working on Apple products like iPhones, things like that. They got some pretty nifty or some pretty tricky screws to get out if you don't have the right bit, and certainly you don't want to be, you know, stripping out a bunch of screws and crap. But then they come with tons of spudgers and tweezers, different tip tweezers, fine tipped ones that come with one with like a 45-degree angle, and then yeah, lots of different spudgers and plastic prying tools, if you will. And then on the other side they have like metal, you know, spudgers and prying tools, you know, if you need to get into something a little more reinforced. And then yeah, it comes with one of those the EDS straps. I just used this last Friday when I was putting in a new processor in a computer. You definitely don't want to fry the processor, just putting it in. And then a little suction cup. So if you're working on a phone, you need to get the screen off. The suction cup is awesome. So it's definitely a neat kit. Yeah, I like it. I've been using it. I use it all the time, actually. I probably use this thing at least a few times a week, and not just working on computer stuff. You know, open up a projector or something, or, you know, trying to get something down, or just anything I'm tinkering with. It seems to be. Hopefully, I didn't lose you guys there.
Nope, you did.
Definitely. Okay, so it definitely seems to be a go-to tool kit every time I need to tinker with something. But I would recommend carrying a standard Phillips or flathead screwdriver around. If you're opening up case screws and stuff, this kit wasn't really designed to really crank and you know, go all Hulk on something. So definitely still carry around like your regular. This is what I use to open up cases, because the driver that they give you for all the bits, it's not really that big, and you can't get a huge grip on it. So, but yeah, those are just a couple of the things that I keep around in my toolbox, and, you know, a couple extra screws and bolts or whatever that you're going to need when you're working on a PC.
I think Jeremy got like 2 toolboxes.
Jeremy's got a whole cubby. He's got a whole array of cubbies that he carries around with him.
I got too many tools and things.
That comes with being the resident guru, though.
That's right.
It seems like if we don't have something, Jeremy's got it in his array of cubbies over there that he keeps portable. Definitely, I want to talk about. Do you know anything about portable apps, Jeremy?
Yeah, they've been around for years. It started off as, I believe it was an offshoot, not necessarily from the same source code, but sort of cloning the functionality of, I believe it's called U3, that is preloaded on a lot of thumb drives. Portable apps will, a lot of times you'll see integrated a lot of open source, freely available software tools, and a lot of utilities that are just useful to have. The one downside to this is that unless you're running Windows, it's worthless. The same type of thing does not really exist for Mac or Linux currently, but if you're working on Windows computers, then, you know, it doesn't hurt to, you know, have a thumb drive with some of these apps loaded. They can be rather handy to have.
Quick question. 95% of the time, though, what OS are you working on?
Me, personally?
Yeah.
95% of the time, I'm either working on Mac or Linux.
No, I'm saying as you're troubleshooting and diagnosing a problem.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's a loaded question.
Well,
I let him pull the trigger on that one.
Yeah, I mean, you cater to the lowest common denominator, and you end up working with a lot of Windows systems.
No, definitely. And that's the crappy part, you know. It's like, man, everything we're working. I mean, granted, most of the consumer products out there are still Windows, you know, still winning by a few heads. But yeah, everything that I work on is all. It seems to be all Windows. So no, I heard about that from John Rodriguez, give a shout out to him. He says he's actually been tuning into the shows and he likes the content. He said, I think he's probably watching right now. So shout out to John. But yeah, he turned me on to portable apps. I still haven't really looked a whole bunch into it, but it sounded like a neat little tool to, put CCleaner on, Defraggler, Malwarebytes, all that. Put it all on one thumbstick and, bada boom, bada bing. You're golden. Is there anything else you guys want to add to this topic? Tools in your toolbox or portable apps?
I'm looking at portableapps.com right now. Just was curious some of the applications they offer. They do have quite a fairly extensive list of games. So if you're a person that can't be without Minesweeper or
Candy Crush,
something like that. They've got a whole section on graphics and pictures, different internet applications, different video conferencing, instant messaging. They've got different web browsers. They've got SSH tools. There's like half a dozen different browsers. Pigeon for multiple chat services. AOL, MSN, and Yahoo. Does anybody actually still use those anymore? Everybody
it's not
has
the mid-90s anymore.
Everybody's surrendered to the dark side and gone with Facebook chat for most things.
It's Snapchat and Instagram, bro.
There is Skype portable on here. That could be interesting. Music and video, they've got a bunch of things. Of special interest would be something like Audacity, which is on here. Daryl might be interested in the Linux Multimedia Studio.
There you go.
So there's all kinds of stuff. They've got a whole big list of Office-type applications, different note takers, word processors, complete Office suites.
So the list goes on and on.
It is pretty extensive, and these are all, by the looks of it, Windows centric. Although a lot of this software looks like it's ports of stuff that already exists on Linux. Some of it doesn't, but a lot of these are cross-platform tools.
So I mean, even if you're not a technician, say you just like playing Minesweeper or some other generic game that's out there on a computer, or maybe you want Skype portable. It definitely seems like a neat.
If you're going into a public library and you don't trust their setup, you could run a web browser off your portable apps install instead of the web browser that's installed on their computer, and not have to worry about a bunch of extra toolbars that some crazy cat lady installed, or something of that nature.
Did she have her cat with her while she was installing the toolbars?
I don't know, but it's probably 15 pounds, and
we won't name names. All right, our last topic that we have on here is education versus certifications. Or certifications.
I gotta start this one.
Go
Education
for it.
first and foremost. Me as I'm pretty new into the IT community as well as Mac. I got a little bit more time. I dealt with web design and stuff for a few years, but what irks me the most is seeing people with certifications that have no clue as to how to troubleshoot, perform functions, keep up to date on current software or technician tools that may be useful, and that just is a full slap in the face to the IT community People have the certifications in dumbest box of rocks. So just in my personal opinion, humble opinion, education is first and foremost. I've learned stuff from Mac before, like in his second semester of class, just because he had a thought process to troubleshoot that came from some previous education, maybe his Marine training or in high school or something. But education first and foremost. I see junior technicians at the PC clinic that may not take the time to understand that different computers, Dell, Acers, Toshibas, all have different hotkeys or whatever. Education first and foremost. Use those. Use things like Google. Use the help desk if it has like a what's the word I'm looking for? The what's the library we created, Jeremy?
Shit. The knowledge base.
Knowledge base.
Yeah.
Use knowledge bases on different programs. They're a great resource. They have tons of information from questions and situations, scenarios people already ran across. So, why invest the time when it's already right there? So, yeah, education first and foremost in the IT community.
I definitely think, education definitely comes. It's good to have, and honestly, in today's day and age, I've heard this several times that, a bachelor's degree is the new high school diploma.
Yeah.
When you're coming, in the job market, and if you're looking for employment, it seems like everybody and their brother now has at least a bachelor's, and I think we've seen that not so much in the IT world, but I know especially a lot of teachers are struggling to find jobs, and it used to be, you went to school. And I think the older generation is having a harder time understanding this, is because back when they were going to school and growing up, is, if you wanted a decent job, you went to college, and then you pretty much got hired straight out of college. And today's day and age, you certainly don't see that anymore. At least it's not as common. Really, it kind of comes down to if you get a few connections, or if you know some people, or you're just hot shit. Most of the time, these guys are coming out with bachelor's or even master's degree, and they're having a tough time finding work, and that's really shitty for them. To me, it's just, I know a couple of teachers that they're finally kind of getting some traction and getting some full-time jobs, but they were substitute teachers forever, it seemed like, and they were confused. What we've been told as kids was go to school, get a degree, you get your job, and then in the 21st century, it's not as common as it was in the 20th century, I think. But I think in the IT world, though, you can kind of get away with slacking on your education a little bit. I think so many companies are in need of a good technician, or somebody who's familiar with, say, the software, the programs that they're running, that they're like, okay, I don't care, are you certified in this? All right, come on board. And I think a lot of guys definitely slip through the cracks and get away with some of that, because as we were talking about a few nights ago, was so you might have 10 certifications, but how often do you use all 10? You were probably most efficient in those certifications while you were getting them, and since then you probably haven't used the the knowledge or the skills that you've learned from them. You probably haven't used them since then. So we've seen it ourselves a couple times of Joe Schmo's got a dozen certifications, but he's dumb as a box of rocks. He doesn't know the first thing about IT or computers. So but there are a couple people. I definitely know one of them. The guy only has an associate's degree, but I think as far as IT and network administration, I think the guy at least has an equivalent. As far as experience, he has, to me anyway, the equivalent of at least a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
I think we all know who we're talking about, but the guy is pretty rock solid, and he knows what he's talking about, and it seems like he's always on cue, and he's always on point, and he has an answer for your question, and if he doesn't, it only takes him a few minutes to kind of dig in his database and his knowledge base and find the right answer.
Yeah.
And he's been working with computers and IT for a long time, and yeah, he's only got an associate's, but the guy's a whiz. I mean, and he's a great guy to have on your contacts list as far as questions or comments or concerns. So, Jeremy, I know. Oh, go ahead.
On the other hand, we know some people who've been in the IT community for 30, 40 years and can't explain Microsoft Office Suite. So
a lot of that has to do with they made a name for themselves in one category, but they're not willing to expand, and that's what you really got to do when it comes to information technology. You kind of have
all the time.
You're good at one or two things, right? You're solid at these things, but you have some familiarity with other things, other programs or software, or at least some people that are familiar with other products or anything along those lines. But we've definitely come across quite a few people that say they know a lot about everything, it seems like, and it's like, do you know information technology? It's a pretty big it's a pretty vast, it has quite the spectrum, so yeah. I highly doubt you know everything about everything. So, I mean, typically if you're a programmer, you're a programmer. If you're a web designer, you're a web designer. If you're a hardware engineer, you're a hardware engineer. It doesn't mean that you don't know other things in the business or in the industry, but that's what you're good at and that's what you're known for.
Right.
So definitely there are some cats out there that I can code, I can do this, I can do that, I can do everything, and I'm efficient in all these categories. When you put them to the test, they don't know the first thing about whatever they're doing. Yeah, so you can definitely pick those guys out pretty quick and weed them out from the rest. But Jeremy, I know your stance on this already, but why don't you tell them?
Well, I agree with a lot of what you guys have been saying. There are people that have a lot of certifications, and they still get tripped up on simple things that should be obvious to anybody that has a developed thought process. But IT is a beast in itself that you can't stop learning. You may not continue your formal education and go after an advanced degree, but you have to stay current with things, however necessary. There are many places online where you can take classes. Coursera. There's Udemy. There's a bunch of these different places you can take classes, whether it's computer classes, whether it's business development type classes. But the key is to not stop learning, because when you do that, you stagnate, and then your worth as a technician drops very quickly. Myself, I went after the advanced degree. I got a master's degree, and I find myself around enough people with lower levels of education that I kind of downplay the fact that I've got a master's degree. In large part, to me, it's a piece of paper. It signifies that I reached a personal goal that I set for myself, and it did expand my knowledge. But I have encountered a large number of people who are just point blank intimidated by working with somebody that has a master's degree, or just think that I'm overeducated or overqualified for something because I've got that master's degree. Anybody can do it if they set their mind to it. It really is an attainable goal, but certifications do have their place. They're valued in the IT field a great deal in a lot of places. There are exceptions to the rule. however, there are a lot of bigger businesses. There are some Fortune 500 companies in our area that if you don't have a minimum of a bachelor's degree, they won't even look at you. You won't get an interview at all with them. And they have it's a big company. They're very successful, but having been involved with this company at various points in my career, they did not offer me what I wanted for advancement after I got my master's degree, and I really just wanted an outlet to use it, and that's what led me to teaching. And so, having a master's degree when you're teaching, isn't strictly necessary, but it can and has proved useful for me. It's all a matter of personal goals, what you want to do with your career. I never had the end goal of being an instructor. I didn't start school with that goal in mind. But that is where I ended up, and I'd like to think that I'm somewhat effective at what I do.
Making a difference,
Making a difference.
Making a difference. Certainly, I know. Certainly, you've made a difference in my life as far as, I know I can come to you if I've got questions or concerns about something. Same thing with Daryl. When I first met Daryl, honestly, I was kind of, who's this guy? Yada yada. But then I got to know him, and then we got to work together, and it was like, so I remember our first class that we didn't have together. It was funny because we both kind of said the same thing, was, shit, I don't have Mac here next to me to, jive my brain. And I was like, oh shit, I don't have Daryl to kind of fall back on either. So, it was definitely great to, meet you two along my way. But I think the biggest thing that anybody can value is experience. Experience. You can't come into this field or any field, for that matter, fresh out of school or wherever, and if you don't have any experience, you're still kind of dumb as a box of rocks. So there's certainly things that I come up to, me being very green in the industry, I come up to something and it's like, I'll spend a few minutes looking at it, and then boom, it'll pop right out at me, and I'm like, shit, well, how come I didn't look for that in the first place, and that turns into experience. So you're on camera. Say hi.
Well,
yeah, you are. But no, yeah, there's definitely some things that I come up to, and I'm like, man, how come I didn't look for that in the first place? And it boils down to, oh well, shit, I haven't been doing this very long, so. And another thing I would definitely suggest to new members of the field is documentation. Write down some shit, even if it's something simple. I keep a database, my own private database of stuff that I work on personally and at work, because I work with a lot of new equipment, not newer equipment, but just stuff that I'm not too familiar with. So if I fix something or, catch something or maybe something that's out of place or something like that, like a good example is we have this projector that it was in a classroom and the bulbs keep going out in it. And the first thing that I noticed as soon as I walked into the room to investigate and to replace the projector was it's right underneath an HVAC vent. It's right underneath an air vent. And right away I saw, well, shit, that's probably why it's going bad, because everything that's getting blown out of that vent, the projector is sucking it in and it can't breathe. It clogs up the filters really fast. They get hot. The bulbs burn out. So I wrote that in my database. So, hey, don't place a projector right under a vent.
Right.
But anything I come across, anything I thumb through or fix, or I'm having some problems getting some software running or something else. Oh, I have to go and turn this on instead. Keep a good database for yourself and a good keep good documentation. I think anybody who works in IT is going to tell you that. Document everything. Just so it helps you and whoever comes on after you, maybe you can pass it along to them and they can thumb through it when they're having issues.
Yep, I totally agree. Documentation.
Yeah, something that you can use for that. There's it's a single file uh, wiki. It's called Tiddly Wiki, Tiddly Wiki. And
Tiddly Wiki.
yep,
That's a mouthful.
and it's a handy little piece of software to have. It's just a single file. You go in there, and you can edit it, add categories, and do things like you would on a full blown wiki site. But you could put this on a thumb drive and take it with you, and then add stuff to it on the fly, and you've always got it.
Nice.
So.
No, that seems neat. I'm gonna have to look into that because I just use a Word document.
Yeah.
I just boom, date, and I title that bitch and write down what I did and what was wrong with it and what I did to fix it, and then a couple spaces, boom, another one. But yeah, definitely. Even if it's something simple, like you come up to a desktop and the thing won't boot up or something, and you open up the case and you notice that one of the memory sticks isn't in all the way. All you gotta do is pop it in and poof, magically it works again. Write that shit down. You never know, because now, even though it's written down, you may never look at it again. Now it's stored in your memory of look at the memory, inspect what you're looking at, and half the time, you know what? I would say probably a good 90% of stuff that I come across is just hardware related. Cable's not plugged in, or something got bumped, something got broken.
Did you try turning it off and on again?
Read the effing manual. Read the fucking manual. Yeah, definitely. And I find myself all the time. Not all the time, but sometimes I'll come up to a computer and something's not working right, and I'm digging on the web, or I'm digging on something, and then it just comes back to all right, well, I guess I'll check this and I'll check that, and then boom, 15 minutes later, if I would have just maybe checked a cable, or maybe something wasn't plugged in right, it would have been a quick and easy fix. And it's like I would have saved myself 20 minutes, if I would have just stuck to the basics. So most definitely. Oh, and yeah, read documentation, manufacturers' websites. They'll have suggestions of stuff like Promethean smart boards. If you have a USB cable that is longer than 20 feet, I think it is, you need a USB cable with a repeater to keep, so it repeats that signal a little bit stronger, or else their boards will not. You won't be able to write on them with the smart pens.
Wow.
And yeah, I didn't know that. Neither did the previous technicians that looked at it and worked on it before me. And I'm sitting there and I tweedled around with it for a few hours trying to figure out if it's a driver or something wasn't loaded right or the software's out of date, something. And I just went to the manufacturer's website and I started looking at stuff. I looked at the forums and boom, there it was. And so I unplugged the computer, got a shorter USB, plugged it in right next to it, poof, it worked. So that's like, what an easy fix. Yeah, what an easy fix. And if you would have just went back and read, or just stuck to the basics, it would have been a quicker fix. But that was just one example that I can think of off the top of my head. That so if you would have stuck to the basics,
you guys have officially broken episode 1 duration.
Yeah,
it has been 2 hours. Yes, I'm rambling on here. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think we covered a lot of good stuff tonight.
We didn't even get through everything that we put on here. So.
Well, this is only the 1.5 version. We have the 2.0 version coming Sunday.
This was episode 2. It's okay to do more than one in a week.
I thought this was only going to go for an hour, and we got going through the list of stuff, and here it is 2 hours later, and we're still talking. But I think we can leave that last item on the list until the Sunday episode. And do we want to rename this the 2.0 episode then?
Nah, 1.5 is good. We'll
all right.
For anybody who's not listening, who chimes in on like episode 20 or something, they can go back through the episodes and go 1.5. Well, where's episode 2? They just skipped right to 3. So,
Okay.
no, but thanks, ladies and gentlemen. If you tuned in tonight, we really appreciate it. If you got any comments, questions, concerns, philosophies on life, don't be afraid to drop a comment in that comment box. And give us some input. And do you want to see these things go longer, or do you want them shorter? Do you want them an hour long? Do you want them 2 hours, 3 hours? Let us know. Any feedback would definitely be helpful.
Yep, sure
So
will.
with that, I am signing off, and I will see you guys later. All right.
Okay, signing off.
All right.
All
Have a
right.
good night, everybody.
Yep.
See you guys.